This video is just to show you how we do rat introductions. You may have seen the video we have where we introduce the two groups of young rats together by putting them in the bath. I didn't explain it very well because I missed out the bit of where we put the vanilla essence on their back. So although I don't have any groups of rats that need to be introduced, I've got Blossom and Bo with me, and I'm just going to show you with them how we would do things. There's a few things you need that are useful. A thick towel is really handy because you can cover rats with that if they're fighting, and also use it to protect your hands. We always have some thick oven gloves which are really handy if you do have to go in and separate rats. But the important thing to remember, never put your hands in because you will get bitten, because in the heat of the moment, if rats are having a fight, they're not going to stop until it's too late. They will bite first and then realise they've bitten you and be very upset. So it's best to distract them. I have inner from a kitchen tube. Now this is really handy for making a noise on the side of the cage which distracts the rats. We also have Mr. Spray. This is just my pencil one. And that is really useful. Adds a little squirt of cold water. That's a very good distraction. You can use any Mr. Spray as long as it's only had water in. It's best to keep one just for your rats. And the other thing that we use is something that we were told a while ago by a friend who was told by a breeder that this is what she does. And this is to use a little bit of natural vanilla essence. Now, extract, not essence, natural extract of vanilla. Now, for some reason this really works because it makes all the rats smell the same. So what we'll do is put a couple of drops of that into a little cup. And this is very hard to do with one hand. Now tuck little Blossom in here. You can see just the base of her tail. We will then get that and we will rub it into her hair just above the base of the tail, just a little bit. You don't need too much because it's very strong, and you do that to all the rats that you're introducing. Now what that does is makes them all smell the same, so they're less likely to get annoyed with each other. And because you know when rats first meet up, there's an awful lot of sniffing goes on and they like to smell each other quite closely. So if they all smell the same, they're less likely to get annoyed with each other or think one's an intruder. And I'm just going to move these things over. So the first introduction is always in the bath. The reason it's in the bath is because it's neutral territory. It's fairly high-sided, so the rats are less likely to be able to jump out, although they can jump out of the bath. You know, there's a little bit more room there for you to make sure that they don't run out and run away and have a fight somewhere. I would say when you're using the bathroom, always put plugs in, put the toilet seat down. Don't clean the bath just before you put the rats in because you don't want them inhaling any fumes from cleaners. Just rinse out with some water and dry the bath and put a towel down to stop the bath being slippery for the rats. They don't really like it when they're skidding all over the place. If you've got dripping taps, then tie a towel around the taps just to stop any hot drips coming out of the tap. So once things are going well in the bath, which they usually do for young rats, if you're introducing two groups of young rats, there's not usually a problem. And it's usually okay introducing young rats to an older female rat. Our only problems we've had is when we've introduced two groups of older rats together, especially with little Bo down here. She had been kept on her own. She was dreadfully nervous, she was scared of people and she was scared of other rats. We were trying to introduce her to Blossom and Bo because they are our two most friendly and most gentle rats that we have. But poor Bo wasn't having any of it and it took quite a few weeks. So if you have male rats, especially older male rats, there can be quite a problem with aggression, and I've known people who've had to have their rats castrated because it's the only way they could introduce them to another group of rats. If you do have any problems with male rats like that, you need to talk to your vet. I believe there is some sort of drug treatment that you can try, or there's the castration, but I would definitely seek some advice with male rats. I can't really give you too much advice on introducing groups of male rats because we only have female rats at the moment. and I've never had to introduce groups of older male rats. So that is a thing I really can't help you with too much, and I'm sorry about that. I have friends who have male rats, and everything that I'm just told you is from things that they have told me. So anyway, we've done the bath introduction. Our next step would be to use our spare cage. Now, if you don't have a spare cage, thoroughly clean out your cage that you would normally use. Take out all the toys and tasty treats that are in there. Try and make it look different so that the rats aren't going to be territorial, that a new rat is coming into their cage. And for introductions, we would just use our spare cage with just bedding and some water. Now, we've vanilla essence both the girls. We will then put them in together. Some people say you should leave the door open so the rats can run out, but we find that can cause more problems because the rats can run out and go and have a fight under the sofa or something. So this is the thing where you have to stay with your rats and watch them. Now, it would be good to look up on the internet some pictures of rats that are being aggressive so you can see the signs of aggression, but I can tell you it's not going to happen with these two though, because they know each other. But the first sign that something's not going to plan is if you've ever seen a rat where their coat is sticking out and rough and on edge. If they're not well or they're very cold, you can sometimes see this. Basically, their coat will lift up, really lift up, and it will be sort of bristling on edge. And if you have white rats, then they can look like a little puffy cotton wool snowball. So that's something to look out for. There will be lots of sniffing, and the girls will run around sniffing each other. You want to watch out for one of them being more dominant and pushing the other to the ground. You might find they're both dominant, which means that it's going to be quite awkward because one of them wants to be in charge. So you might find them squaring up to each other, facing each other, and their backs arched up. That's not a good sign. If they progress from that, they can actually stand on their hind legs and they can bat at each other with their arms. And there can be quite high-pitched squealing. Now that is quite worrying, and if that was the case I would do some distraction, and I would open the door and encourage one of them to come out. If necessary, I would go in with the oven gloves and remove one of the rats. But we've never ever experienced that. I've seen videos of it, but I've never experienced it with any of our rats. There's been some squealing. With Bo, where she was so scared, she would just run away. And she would just like squeal and hide in the corner, and she was just terrified, the poor girl. So being scared can make rats a little bit defensive, but just need to keep a very close eye on the rats. Now, if everything is going well, the rats will settle down. You'll probably find they start cleaning each other. At this stage, I would then introduce a bowl of dried food because I want to see how they're going to act with some food. But if it's quite nice and they all just take a piece of food and settle down, that's fine. The next step would be to move into the permanent cage and keep an eye on the rats. And you'll probably find, most cases, rat introductions, if you just take it slowly and don't rush things and stay calm yourself, stay very calm, don't panic. If things start to go a little bit wrong, just keep calm and talk very gently to the rats. And once they're in their permanent cage together, as I said, do this on a day when you can stay at home and watch them, and don't do them just before you're going shopping or just before you're going to bed. You need to make sure these rats are okay. Now, during the first 24 hours there's likely to be a little bit of hustle and bustle and squeaking, and one of them is going to want to be dominant, so you're going to have to just keep an eye and see what goes on with the rats. But I say, I really hope, your rat introductions will go well. I can't think of anything else that I really need to tell you at the moment. It's just best to take things slowly. If you get to the stage where you've used the bath and things were okay, and you've put the rats into the neutral cage or your spare cage and things start to go wrong, what we do is we will then stop there. We will put the two groups back into their own cages, and we will stop until the next day. And the next day we will vanilla essence the girls, we'll put them back into the spare cage, hello you, we'll put them back into the spare cage and we'll watch them, and we will keep repeating this every single day until the rats get on. And I say with Bo, it took about nearly 12 weeks for her to accept the other rats and to be in a cage and be happy. That is the longest it's ever taken. We were almost giving up with Bo. We just didn't know what to do with her. And I spoke to lots of people. People suggested lavender, and we did try lavender, but it didn't make much difference. I can't remember if I said this, but if you use lavender, mix it with some water and don't rub it into the skin because it's very strong and it can irritate the skin. So yes, that was my worst in 14 years. That Bo was the rat that I thought had defeated me, that I would never manage the rat introduction. She did used to bite me as well. She was a real little biter, but it was all out of fear. And look at her now with Blossom. They're absolutely best friends. So, you know, don't give up, don't rush things. If there's anything I haven't explained very well, just let me know and I'll try and explain it in a better way. But take your time and, you know, don't worry too much. Just try and find a way of doing things that works for you, but just don't throw the rats in together and expect it all to be okay, because that's when you're going to get trouble. And look how calm they are. This is what you're aiming for. So sweet, my girlies. But I'm going to put them back in their proper house now with their friends, and just please let me know if there's anything I can help you with.